This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrat. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Duck and Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Ken Duke and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Ken, how you doing, man?
Mark, I'm doing great. My beard matches my shirt and my cap, so I feel like I'm all set for the show.
Yeah, how long is that? How many days? What do you got going on there?
Beard? I don't know. This is I trim it once in a while, so it kind of stays around this length. It used to be darker.
Really?
Yeah, when we met, it was darker.
Yeah,
20 some odd years ago.
Well, you know, I'm approaching 60 here. I have never had facial hair.
Me too.
Never. Really?
Well, see, I'm I've had facial hair for 30 years, but now I'm getting it to kind of block this thing. Have you got one of these?
Not yet. Not yet. But it does hack me off that you know, and with all due respect, Ken, that I'm losing hair. But then suddenly it starts growing in places that I had no idea hair was supposed to grow there.
No, that's really, really annoying, isn't it?
It's very annoying.
Yeah, I'm not happy about the whole aging process. You and I are basically the same exact age, and I'm going to be 60 next year. So
yeah, getting old sucks.
It really does. You got to be tough to get old, I think.
That's right. So Ken is sitting in for Matt as Matt is trying to earn his way on the Elite Series. He has 2 events left. He's down at Smith Lake. It's been raining during practice. It's supposed to rain every single day. And he is poised, though, and seems rather confident. And I talked to him yesterday, and I don't know what's going on, but he sent me this video of a unidentified water object, is what he called the UWO.
UWO.
All right, now he made that up, but this strange submarine-looking thing shows up in the middle of the night just outside the house that they're staying on Smith Lake, and it happens to be right behind this tree where you can't really get a good view of it, but it has this very, very bright light on it. He's like, I don't know what it was. It just appeared out of nowhere. What's going on? I'm like, dude, I send me the video. So he sends me the video. I can't make anything out of it. You know, it's worse than the Blair Witch Project. I have no idea what he's showing me.
I like it, though. You know, once upon a time, there was a star in the east, and Matt needs to follow this thing. And Matt needs to get on whatever pattern it takes. I don't know what the right bait might be. I don't know what this light is showing him. Yeah. But, man, get on that light. Go to the light in this case.
He said the light would go away, and then it would come back, and then it would go away. He said, dude, you got to get better footage, man. That proves nothing. It could be, you know, some stranger with a flashlight in a canoe. I mean, it proved nothing. Well,
I've covered some tournaments in Smith Lake. I've never thought of it as kind of another Area 51.
Yeah, do they have submarines on Smith Lake?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You know, we used to have this thing in Oklahoma called the Flying Saucer that was on Lake Eufaula, and it was an underwater machine that they used to work on the dam. And they didn't keep it in a marina or anything. They just rolled it up on the shore. This was about 15, 20 years ago.
And I know at Grand, they have a Loch Ness Monster. I've seen it.
Where? At Grand?
At Grand, yeah.
No, Champlain. That's where they have.
Well, at Champlain, they have Champy. At Champlain, they have Champy. Right. But at Grand, there's a statue of like a Loch Ness Monster somewhere, right? Didn't I see
There
that at
is.
Brand?
What is that big dinosaur that was the mascot for Sinclair gas stations?
Like a brontosaurus.
Yeah. Yeah, we have dinosaur. We call it Dinosaur Cove.
Okay, that's what it is. I thought it was
Okay.
like a Nessie kind of deal.
No. Dinosaur Cove. Yeah, that gets hammered.
Here
Big
in
time.
Florida, we have real big lizards that we just call gators.
Really?
Yeah, they get 10, 12, 13 feet long sometimes. You just try to stay away from them.
Yeah, I did see the dude in Florida that was on the national news capturing an alligator with a trash can.
In a trash can, yeah. Yeah, that's you don't want to go to the internet and search Florida man. You will find all kinds of bizarre stuff. There are books,
I probably
there
don't
are
want to do
dedicated
that.
websites.
Now, have you ever had an encounter with a gator on your property, Ken?
No, I'm not that terribly close to ponds
Water?
or lakes. Yeah, I'm not as close as I'd like to be. I'm not right on the water or anything, so no. But people don't realize during mating season the gators get quite mobile, and they'll cover a lot of ground in the mating season. And so that's the
they're
time
on
of
the
year
look,
when
man.
yeah, when you might find a gator dead on the interstate highway. I've seen
What?
10-foot gators dead on the interstate where they got run over by cars and trucks. And I bet they did some damage to the car or truck in the process too. But yeah, they'll try to cross highways and it gets crazy.
That's not very smart.
Well, it's not very smart, but you're dealing with one of the least intelligent but best adapted animals in the country when you're talking about a gator. You know, gators have probably undergone as little evolution as almost anything over the last several millennia.
Okay. All right.
But they're not to be. It's hilarious. You'll get a guy down here sometime from up north, and he's never really seen a gator, and so I'll show him. I'll say, well, there's one right there. And you say, you mean that little thing just barely sticking above the water? I say, yeah, that's his head. That's his eyeballs and his nose. And that's a gator. And that's about, you can judge the size of a gator by seeing the distance between his nostrils and his eyeballs. For every inch, he's about a foot long. And they'll say, well, that's not very impressive. And I'll say, okay, watch this. And I'll take a worm, take the hook out of it, and I'll just tie something on like that, and I'll zing it and drag it across the gator's back or his tail. And then the guy gets to watch that gator just spin and attack whatever was touching him.
Yeah.
And that'll usually get their attention that these things are pretty dang fast when they want to be.
Hey, I remember the first media excursion that I had at a Bassmaster Classic on the Louisiana Delta.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time that I saw an alligator eat a buzzbait. That was pretty cool. I was with Kelly Jordan, and that was a memorable moment because he called it, man. He called the shot. He goes, watch this. Chuck that buzzbait out there. Really, I mean, the thing just exploded on it.
Well, I love Kelly Jordan. That's my poker buddy there. But
yeah.
Calling your shot with an alligator is really, really easy.
Yeah.
All you have to do is put something that makes a little disturbance on the water in front of an alligator, and he is going to attack it every single time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons guys down here don't throw big, expensive swim baits and wig baits, is because, you might be throwing them out where it's more or less open and you're okay because maybe you can see an alligator before it can get your bait. But if you're throwing it along a line of pads or vegetation, that alligator can be on it coming out of that vegetation before you realize he's even there. And if the gator gets that bait, there's a great chance you're not going to get it back. Or if you do get it back, you're going to throw it away because he's torn it apart.
Yeah.
And people don't realize if you got 10-pound test line and some patience and it's open water, you're going to land that gator. You're going to be able to get that gator.
Who wants to land a gator?
Well, I mean, you're going to be able to get that gator up to the boat if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I want no part of that. Jeez.
But then what are you going to do?
Yeah, Kelly.
A gator will fight you for a little while, and then he'll spin, and then he'll dive and try to just hug the bottom. But eventually you can wear a gator out.
Okay,
and get him.
I want no part of that. No.
Yeah, exactly. Because then he's going to come up and he's going to hiss at you, and that will get your attention.
No part of that, Ken. All right, let me kind of set up the week. We have a couple of weeks.
Oops, you doing okay, Mark?
All right. I had to mute it because I was coughing my head off. Sorry. I'll explain that here in a minute. Anyway, I got to set up the week. We have a couple of weeks left that Matt is fishing this week. Obviously, he's not in studio. Ken, you're going to pinch hit for him today. But tomorrow, I'm going to be flying solo, but a very, very cool show, one that I've been trying to get for a number of months, and tomorrow is finally the day. We are finally going to get Kara Davidson on tomorrow, who is the Senior VP for Bass Pro Shops. She's going to spend a little time to answer some questions that a lot of people have had about really the direction that the White River Marine Group is going as far as their pro staff, as far as the marketing and the marketability of professional anglers. Why did they get involved with a tournament series of their own? They're giving away $1 million. So hopefully tomorrow we will get a lot of answers from Kara Davison, and she hasn't done any interviews. So this is going to be one of the first interviews that she does in reference.
First and last on BTL.
Yeah, to that topic. So very excited about tomorrow. She's only got a short period of time, but we're going to be able to ask her questions for about 20, 30 minutes tomorrow. So very excited to get her on the show and greatly appreciate her taking time out. She's actually on location in a lot of the Bass Pro Shops U.S. Open events that take place all across the country. But finally going to hopefully get some insight on the direction that the White River Marine Group has taken with a lot of their pro staff, specifically with a lot of the former pro staff that was involved with Ranger boats. And Ken, as you know, there was an enormous amount of players in this game that had been doing this game for a very, very long time that suddenly they had to go find another boat deal.
Yeah, Bernie Schultz comes to mind. I mean, Bernie had been with Ranger, I think, since like the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
He was originally signed up by Nina and Forrest Woods personally. And, just one of the guys, because like you say, a lot of guys who had been with that company a very, very long time, entire careers, suddenly gone. So I know you're going to ask the right questions. I know you're going to ask some tough questions. I hope you can get some good answers.
Yeah. So
there's
very
always
excited about that.
Potential gap.
Yeah.
Between,
and then
the good question, good answer.
There you have it. All right. Then Wednesday, I'm still working on something. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off. If I can't pull it off, we're going to pull it off a week until Matt gets back, and then we will not have a show on Wednesday if I can't pull this off with this particular guest. And then on Thursday, Frank will be back for another day 4. And did you see some of the pictures of Frank last weekend? Did you happen to catch the replay?
I was frightened by some of those pictures of Frank. Young Frank Scalish. Oh my gosh. Who was that guy?
Yeah.
No, Frank has the same issue that you and I have, which is you start showing these old pictures, you stop being able to recognize people. I think I might have even shown this picture before. You got me reaching for.
What are you dipping into?
Reaching for an old picture, Mark. This is not good. Oops.
Ooh, there you go. Is that you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Here, hold that up again. I need to blow that up. Let's see if I can blow that up. Let's see here. Hang on. Over there. University of Georgia. Dude, you look like 16 in that picture.
I guess I was 18, 19, somewhere in there.
Wow. Look at the flowing locks. Oh my gosh.
This was 1953.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was like 1980, 81, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, I did it. I did it. After the break, you can do it.
What's
If we
that?
take a break, show a picture of you that era.
Oh, I don't. I look for some of the Mohawk days and haven't been able to find any of them. When I had a
You did the
Mohawk.
mohawk with the mop and
Yeah.
glow?
Yeah.
With the mop and glow and everything?
Spiked up. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
People today don't realize that if you wanted to do the mohawk thing and you wanted it to stand up, you'd get mop and glow to do it. A slight difference in my haircut these days, but only slight.
It's low maintenance, man.
I like to think that I'm easily recognizable from that picture to today.
Yes. Yes, you are. All right, real quick, I want to explain. I about lost it there. I had to take a break and put it on mute. I had been sick the last 4 days. And when I called Ken to set this up, hang on.
Mark Jeffries.
All right, there we go.
Not feeling himself lately.
When I call Ken to get this set up, I classify a cold as a sine curve. You know, it goes like this. You start out, you get the sore throat, then it progresses, and then you peak out and you have your peak day, then you start to get better. That's all fine and great, but when you're headed on the downhill, the sine curve of a cold, there are these lasting things, and the cough is one of the lasting things. So I thought, oh, geez, I'm going to have that mute button handy today. And when you see me do this, Ken, I'm going to the mute button. Okay.
I hear you. I'll try to fill if it gets awkward.
Yeah. But I did have a COVID test. It was negative, didn't have COVID. It's just kind of related to allergies and everything. But yeah, that last slide down the curve is brutal, especially when you have to talk.
Yeah, it's I've got the same kind of experience with my colds. You know, it starts off with a little tingling in the throat, then a sore throat, then the congestion starts. About day 4, the congestion becomes so bad I can barely keep my eyes open, focus on anything. And then I've got the long, slow grind. And you know the old joke, you know, everybody's got a cure for the common cold, and you take their cure and they say, yeah, about 10 days later, you'll feel good again. Thinking, great.
That's how it always is.
Helping me. Yeah. Yeah, and of course the common cold is a virus of some kind, and it shows you the kind of success that science has had historically with viruses. There are very, very few of them that have been successfully treated.
Yeah. Yeah. So
makes me fear for the long, slow slog through COVID.
I have 4 days to get ready. I've got just a madness type of weekend with OU Texas going on. I'm actually going to be in the DFW area this weekend, unrelated to OU Texas. And so I have to get better. I got to get back to as close to 100% as I can, and dealing with, somebody made the point about, being a teacher today is very hazardous. Well, the cool thing about my classroom is everybody is spread out. It's like nobody's really sitting by anybody, and there's no group work, and it's all pretty good because everything's done on. We have Chromebooks. Every student has a Chromebook now. So
wow,
yeah, it's kind of cool.
That's very cool. And it's good that you're able to spread out like that, and it's good that kids are getting back into the classroom. I think that's really valuable. Strange times we live in.
It is. All right, this time of the year, Ken. It's well documented from a tournament perspective. Everybody's kind of looking at, from a local standpoint, a lot of team championships, a lot of things taking place on a regional and local level. And then from an MLF perspective, you have the cup events going on. From an NPFL perspective, you have the championship. They had their last event at Grand Lake this past week, and fishing was tough, but it was actually a little bit better at Grand Lake than it normally is. And they kind of wrapped up. Now they have their championship, and I don't think it's been announced where they're going to have their championship, but I am working on trying to get some of those NPFL guys on when Matt gets back to kind of showcase their season and give us their take on what they have going on. I finally looked at the payback on that. The winner gets $50,000, and that's a pretty large investment and a pretty good financial commitment to do the NPFLs. It's no different than anything else. It doesn't matter what you fish. There's always that financial commitment. But I think for the first year of them being out there and with all the challenges that they've had to deal with from a sponsor standpoint, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm very impressed with them. When I first heard that they were going to try that, I thought, wow, aren't there? And of course, at that time, MLF and FLW had not come together. So I thought, wow, this doesn't seem like a particularly great move, but they seem to be making it work. I love that I love that there are several leagues that people can choose from, and have an outlet and a viable platform to work from. A lot still up in the air as to who's going to win this battle, because you got at least two of these organizations which seem vowed to destroy the other, and it's interesting times. And I love the fall because of like what you were talking about. There is the championships that are being held now. The fall is, I think, and stats will bear this out in terms of catch rates and so forth. The fall is the toughest time of the year.
It is
across the board. Almost no matter what part of the country you're in, the fall is the most challenging time of the year, and that to me is not a bad time to have a championship. Let's separate the wheat from the chaff here and see who's really good. Most everybody can catch them in the springtime. Of course, some guys are good at catching more than others even then, but the fall is a fine test of who's really good.
Yeah, and we're going to see next year some of the Elite Series guys are going to be fishing the NPFL. It's been reported that Greg Hackney is going to fish along with other Elite Series guys. So, hey, man, this is what they do, Ken. They make money by catching fish, and if there's an opportunity to make money catching fish, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I'm always fascinated by the guys who are fishing multiple circuits. Yeah, I used to wonder, why don't guys fish more tournaments? 8 or 9 tournaments a year does not seem like a lot. And of course, when you consider how much time they spend away from home, how much time they spend on the road, you start to realize, yeah, 8, 9 tournaments can be a full-time job when you consider personal appearances and things like that. But for the guys who can do it, whose family situations are such that either they don't have any children, or their children are a little more mature and they can get out and fish multiple tournaments, I like to see that. And I think about it in a weird way, Mark. I look at a record like Kevin Van Dam, with close to 30 national tournament titles to his credit. And I'm thinking, well, who could beat that? And I'm thinking, well, it's going to be a guy who fishes as many derbies as he can. That's the guy who might make a run at that kind of career record. Nobody else will have a shot.
Yeah, it's a good point. Let me ask you this, refresh my memory. Was there a period of time back with the BP 150s or BP 100 or whatever it was, where the season actually started in the latter half of the year?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what I thought.
That happened quite a lot, and for quite a while. That happened. There were a lot of seasons that would start in the fall, because the Classic was a fall tournament for a long time, and then when it became a summer tournament, they would also begin in the fall, just to try to spread things out as much as they possibly could. And of course, that obviously ended when they moved the Classic to in 2006. They moved the Classic to February, and it's been February, March since then. And now they're in the awkward situation. At least BASS is in what I consider kind of an awkward situation. Is they start the season, they have the championship from the previous season, and then they get back into the current season again, which is awkward, but they make it work.
Somebody put a post, Clay did, on the comments on the instant feedback. Realistically, is Greg Hackney the only person that realistically can have every major title in fishing?
Well, Greg, yeah.
The only thing that he doesn't have is a classic.
He doesn't have a classic. He doesn't have a red crest. He doesn't have an MLF points title. But yeah, I mean, he's pretty much the only guy standing who could complete what used to be the Grand Slam or whatever. Yeah. He's the only guy who is in a position to do that. But now that he's out of MLF and can't win a red crest or a points title, which Edwin Ivers has done, Ivers is there too. If Ivers went back to the Elite Series somehow and won an AOY, then he would have it. But he and Ivers have the same problem.
Okay.
Which is that they have no intention of going back to that other league.
Right.
And there are a number of guys in that situation. I mean, who have 3 of the 4 things, like a Denny Brower. A number of guys are in that same scenario. Davey Height, who lacked an FLW AOY title, but had everything else. Of course, he's basically retired now. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of guys who have 3 of the 4, but now how many things are there? And there are some things that are completely shut out. Like you could never win a Wood Cup again. You can never win. I guess you can win the equivalent of an FLW points title, kind of like Michael Neal just did.
Yeah.
But it's muddied now. And where does a tournament like the US Open fit in all this? Is the US Open a major championship that should be considered part of this Grand Slam or pentathlon of accomplishments? Because it's a great tournament. And then you narrow the field even more of guys who have come close to that. It's who knows?
Yeah, I think the U.S. Open is a great event, and it's been well documented that anglers like Rick Lund have said it's the toughest tournament in the nation and everything that goes along with it. But the one thing where you have the asterisk there, it's a shared weight format.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Yeah. I do kind of like the fact that it's on the same place every year. It's out at Lake Mead. It's in a brutally hot time of the year. I kind of like that. I think there's a place for that in tournament scheduling, and the only organization doing it is that one.
Yeah.
I would love to see Bass or MLF have one kind of cornerstone or keystone event that was always at the same place, always at basically the same time of year, create some tradition around that. And I think the reason they don't do it is because if a community like, I don't know, name a Kissimmee, Florida, which invariably hosts any tournament on the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes here in Florida, if they knew you were going to come back year after year after year, your leverage and bargaining power with them would be diminished.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason you don't see things like that. But I would still like to see stuff like that. It would probably need to be a venue somewhere more or less central in the country or central in that Bass Belt, either something around like a Gunnersville or a Grand maybe, or a Rayburn or a Toledo Bend. But go there year after year. Go there at the same time. I think it could be really interesting to do that.
FLW kind of had that going on with Beaver. I mean, how many times did they go there over and over and over, the same time of the year, same? Everything was pretty much the same.
You're absolutely right about that, and that's and I like that kind of tradition. I like that kind of, they're going to be there. It's going to be an interesting tournament. You sort of see how the fishery has performed over the years, its ups and downs. Stuff like that is cool to me.
Yeah, one of the dominating guys during those Beaver events was Clark Wendelin. And in his younger years, when he was dominant on the FLW tour, that really opened up a lot of opportunities for Clark, was his wins on Beaver Lake.
And some of the organizations have gone to a particular venue at the same time of year for a few years in a row, or every other year for a stretch, like the California Delta, when Robert Lee dominated 4 events there. And really, unbelievable. People are commenting about my phone ringing. Sorry about that. And the reason I can't stop the ring on both the computer and the phone, but I'm going to try. I'm going to turn the volume off on this thing. But anyway, I loved seeing that at the Delta. I thought that was really cool to go back like that over and over and show us what that fishery was doing. And a guy like Robert Lee in that era, he changed the way people fished the Delta. He absolutely changed the way people fished the Delta. And he, like nobody before. And I think that's cool. I think you see an evolution like that when you go back to certain places multiple times as they did there.
All right, I'm going to ask this question again in a little different format because from a fan perspective, you guys tell me, but I think we're kind of getting to the point now. We can't continue the early, I'll just call it the early agendas that were in place by all organizations, okay? Do you think that the fans really want to see a one-time event where you select 5 different titles from 5 different organizations or whatever the number is? I don't know what the number is. Say a U.S. Open champ, say a Red Crest champ, say a Classic champ, say the Angler of the Year on both, all 3 major professional tours. So where you have a one-time event, it's for the fans, and you finally have a true world champion. Truly a world champion based upon taking a limited number of champions or title holders from all these organizations that build. Is that something that, number one, the anglers would want? Number two, is it something that the industry could support financially to where it makes sense, of which it reaches the marketing of their products with this event in whatever platform it's on? And then thirdly, is this something that the fans would truly benefit from? What are your thoughts, Ken?
I like the question a lot, and that's something I've thought about a little bit, and I think that it's something that fans might really enjoy, but there are a lot of obstacles, and perhaps your biggest obstacle is setting up a media platform to tell that story, because BASS and MLFLW and NPFL are not going to want to tell the story of the guys from the other leagues, especially if their guys are getting their butts handed to them. So you have a media platform problem right from the get-go. And without a good enough, big enough, strong enough media platform, you have nothing. So that's a big hurdle right there. Sponsorship-wise, you have a hurdle that's also pretty daunting. A single manufacturer is not going to get behind this, because especially on the chance that none or few of the guys who qualify are going to be their guys. I mean, imagine if a Rapala Normark or a Strike King Lose or a Daiwa or Shimano wanted to get behind this, and then lo and behold, only one guy out of their whole pro staff qualifies. That would be a disaster for them. They would want ultimately little or no part of that. Would the anglers want something like this? Well, that begs another question. Would the anglers want something like this if the payout was good enough? Yes, right. They would.
Yeah.
That part I think is the easy part. Would the fans enjoy it? I think they absolutely would. But I think you got so many hurdles.
All right, let me ask you this, Ken. In relation to that same subject, you do have companies that are involved with all organizations, for the most part.
You do have companies involved with all organizations, but they're not companies that are involved with all of the anglers. and that's why I think the sponsor here's who would have to sponsor that. That would have to be sponsored by a big box retailer or a non-endemic, perhaps. Maybe Toyota could get behind something like that. Maybe Bass Pro Cabela's, Sports Authority, somebody like that could get behind something like this. But for an individual manufacturer to do it, unless they're a non-endemic, I think it's a real hurdle.
Would it be something that would be a YouTube play? In other words, because YouTube has grown so large from the YouTube TV perspective, that if the organizations see, and I'm pie in the sky here, pie in the sky. And the reason is because I think the toughest challenge is getting all the organizations to be able to agree to do this.
But it's not well, here's the thing. I think getting the organizations to agree to do it is probably not even worth pursuing. It's probably not even worth pursuing.
So get an independent person to say, hey, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I actually kicked around, and I didn't go down this path even a step or two, but I used to think it might be, and I talked to some people, but about having some kind of championship like this in association with ICAST. ICAST now is pretty much in Orlando, Florida every year. It's been there 7 or 8 years in a row. It's going to be there for the next 5-6 years. And I thought, with so many pros coming there, why not have some sort of cross-sectional multi-league championship on the Kissimmee chain, either right before or right after ICAST? And I thought that might be interesting. And I talked to a few pros, and I talked to a few manufacturers, and they all said that they would support such a thing. And of course, saying you'll support such a thing and actually supporting such a thing are quite a ways apart. But I thought there was some potential for something like that. And that would also offer one of those deals that we were talking about earlier, a tournament in a single location at the same time of year, where you would have all these cool things coming together. And what stopped me was that would be a massive amount of work for which I might never see any reward whatsoever.
Yeah.
Apart from surviving such a thing. And I didn't have a media platform to do it with. So it would take something much, much bigger than me and some friends to pull such a thing off. But I think that a thing like that would be very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And ICAST would be a good place to do it, because you've already got a lot of pros
stuck in Florida, though.
Well, so what? Florida happens to be the fishingest place on the planet, Mark Jeffries.
I get it.
25 to 30 cents out of every dollar spent on sport fishing in America is spent in Florida.
I get it. No disrespect to all the Florida anglers out there.
And look at the media you would have in association with ICAST, who would go out and check out the tournament and perhaps report on it and give it the kind of push that it needs to be successul. This is that convergence that you really have to make such a thing go.
All right, we're going to take a break, and I want to apologize to everybody. Guys, I'm trying to do my best here. Struggling a little bit with the downhill, the finish line of this cold that I have. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, and we're going to talk about something that happened in the bowling world that is really, really important from a fishing perspective over the weekend. All right? I'm going to pick your brain on that one, Ken Duke.
Sounds good, man. Looking forward to it.
All right, everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Elite FS puts the full range of Lowrance fish finding tools at your fingertips. Find fish with active imaging 3-in-1 with Fish Reveal. Target fish with active target live sonar and watch fish react to your lure as it happens. Built-in C-Map Contour Plus charts make it easy to find key fishing areas. But best-in-class charts and powerful sonar is only the beginning. It's easy to build your fully networked FS system. From sonar and waypoint sharing to controlling the Ghost trolling motor and power poles. Lowrance Elite FS. Targeting fish just got easier.
BassCat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from BassCat.
Everybody loves to chase bass on the water. But is your most valuable asset protected when it's not on the water? Empire Covers can preserve your bass boat against even the harshest conditions. When the storm is coming, that bass boat needs to be protected. Check out EmpireCovers.com for all your cover needs. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution when it comes to protecting that asset. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution in easy protection for your truck, for your boat, for your car, anything that needs to be protected from the elements. BTL listeners can receive free shipping plus an extra 15% off their entire order on EmpireCovers.com. Just use the promo code BTL at checkout. Empire Covers. Protect what you love.
So, you're looking to buy fishing electronics, huh? Are you also looking for true experts to help guide you through it? Well, at the Bass Tank, you've come to the right place. We are live forward-facing sonar pioneers with thousands of hours spent learning through winning trophies, cashing checks, and just having fun. Whatever brand you need, we have it. We offer free shipping, and we have 2 financing options available. Our experts are here to help you. Call us today or visit thebasstank.com.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
There's one.
You know what works. Now you need a bunch of them so you don't run out on your next fishing trip. The Big Bite Pro Packs feature 25 baits per pack at a price far below that of having to buy 5 packs of regular baits. Now the Pro Pack has a big brother, the Mega Pack. The Mega Pack features 100 of your favorite baits.
With these, one bag is usually plenty to get through the day. It helps me stay organized, helps me save money, helps me catch more fish.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us. Except for one. Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. I'm like, X-Zone lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh. my gosh.
I think you get the point.
All right, we are back on a Monday, kicking off the week with my good friend Ken Duke. And Ken, this next subject, and I'll be the first one to admit, I was ashamed that I didn't know the answer to this question. Because how many years have I been in this game and I didn't know? I had no idea. So help me out on this. What I want to know is, are collegiate anglers in this day and age today able to win prize money in professional tour level events? Do you know the answer? You're on mute. Mute. He's on mute.
Sorry about that. Mute is what my wife dreams she had a button for me.
So in other words, if a collegiate angler is fishing the Toyota Series or the TWPC or whatever they're fishing, do they win money?
Of course they do.
Okay,
you know why?
That's what I thought.
Because they're not collegiate athletes. As far as the college or university is concerned, they don't exist. They are nothing, nobody. They belong to a club, not a team, a club. They're not a sanctioned NCAA sport. No one in the larger scheme of things cares about them. And that's just fine, because that's pretty much how it should be. Can you imagine what a collegiate angler's jersey would look like if the NCAA was involved? Get rid of all those logos for those sponsors. Get rid of every one of them, because once the school found out about that, they would eliminate that kind of stuff immediately. I'm amazed that so many people get all worked up about this college stuff. It's nothing. It's insignificant. These kids are not athletes. They're not competing on behalf of the school. They are a club. If you and I enrolled in Oklahoma University today, we could start ours too.
Well, they already have
Right
one.
now.
So
What's that?
They already have one.
I know, we could start our own. And who's to say that ours is not equal to theirs?
That's a good point. It's a good point.
I'm blown away.
The whole NIL
I
thing.
laugh at the college programs. I just laugh.
The whole NIL thing, though, even though it's not an NCAA or NAIA or whatever you want to call it, regulated activity, it is changing the way that things are done from a monetary standpoint, from a college standpoint. And what happened over the weekend, and the reason that I brought this up, is in bowling, it is an NCAA sport, but only on the women's side.
Okay.
Men's, it is not. In fact, there was a few years ago that Vanderbilt was actually the NCAA national champion for the women. They didn't even have a bowling program, and within 3 years, and I think I've mentioned, there's a really cool documentary on ESPN Plus about that whole sequence of events. But they made a ruling this past weekend, and it was announced Friday, that collegiate bowlers are now allowed to participate in PBA events and to earn money.
That's weird. I don't understand that, but things have obviously loosened up a great deal with regard to collegiate athletics and the ability to profit from participation in them. You got guys signing deals now and with outside companies for name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, NIL.
And it makes a big difference if you're the quarterback at Alabama or Oklahoma, but not so much difference if you're a bowler at Vanderbilt. And I don't know, I'm not really in favor of paying these people. Mm-hmm. I feel bad that I think in many ways their situation is unfair, but to me, they've always been paid because they're scholarship athletes. They're getting an education, and you can put a value on that pretty easily. So I think they were already getting paid. It's just they weren't being given a check. And of course, in a lot of cases, they were being given checks too, under the table and so forth. They would have the job of, and they're given jobs sometimes around the school, oh, you're in charge of irrigation of the football field. you have to turn on the watering system every day. Oh, how do I do that? Oh, don't worry about it. It's on a timer.
And they made a movie about that. You remember the movie with Robbie Benson in it? It was called One-on-One.
Okay, I vaguely remember the movie.
Yeah, I think it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Where he was a high school basketball player, and he was shocked when he went to go get his job, and he said, here, you're in charge of irrigation. It was that exact same thing. And he walks down there, and the sprinklers come on automatically.
Yeah.
But he still got the check. All right.
If you want to, college athletics, as we've all seen through the decades, is pretty shady. And if you want to get shadier, you can start taking a close look at these bass fishing clubs at the universities and how they're administered, and how little supervision is being done by the leagues. These students are quite often not even enrolled, and they're participating in the bass fishing club. What's that?
Jeez. Really? Not even enrolled. Or maybe they graduated. Maybe they're doing post-grad studies or something.
And by the way, there are plenty of guys in their 30s who are participating in these college programs. I've seen them. And if they're enrolled in a night class they're not attending.
Okay.
And nobody's checking it.
Dude, I brought this up. I brought this up for a couple of reasons. One, obviously the money aspect. The second reason is this.
Well, there's no money in college okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Why not? Well, hence, that's why I'm bringing this up. They don't pay any entry fees, right?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
I don't think they pay entry fees. Well, if this is going to be full-blown with everything else that's taking place, why not put an entry fee in there and create a situation where these kids can actually make money? If you're going to have this college thing, make an entry fee. Or would that so-called, and I quote, ruin the college game when it comes to bass fishing?
But what it would do is something far worse, in my opinion. It would say basically, this is another BFL tournament, except you got to show a college ID.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing, but now you're basically doing a boat owners tournament. Now you're doing an owners tournament. That's all you're doing. You're doing a skeeter owners tournament now. And even fewer people are going to care about that. When I was at Bass and overseeing the website there was a thing you could say about the traffic on the site. If there was an elite tournament, well, here's the regular traffic. It's going along like this. Now you got an elite tournament. Boom. Kevin Van Dam winning the elite tournament. Boom. Here's the regular traffic again. Open. No change. Here's an elite tournament. College or Federation Nation. It would tank. Traffic would tank. No one's interested in those events on a larger national scale. The fan base is not interested.
Okay, so why not make it to where financially it would benefit these students? Since one, it's not overseen or ruled or governed or whatever you want to call it by any organization, monitored, whatever. Why not create entry fees to where these guys could actually make some money in the college game?
Make them go fish the BFLs or make them go fish the Opens. Why give them a separate league which inflates their performance because you're narrowing the field artificially? Make them go out and compete against everybody else.
I do think it's cool that you have collegiate anglers competing against collegiate anglers. But I think the platform really needs to have a true guideline as far as who those collegiate anglers are.
Okay,
eligibility.
Now you've got a different thing going here. Now you're talking about actual monitoring of this league. We'll call it the college league, okay? Just the college program, just as they do now. Now you're talking about putting some real money into this effort, because you're going to have people who are checking the credentials of all these participants. You got to be enrolled in classes. You got to be taking so many hours to qualify. You got to have a certain grade point average. You got to do all. You're basically creating a mini NCAA to make this thing legit.
Yeah.
To make this thing legit, and it's got to have some teeth. And there can only be one program per school, and there can only be a certain number of entries per school. And then what you'd want to do is you'd want to divide it up by similar leagues and conferences, just like the NCAA does with their sports. You know, the Southeastern Conference and the Pac-12 and all this. Then you might have something, but what you're asking Bass or MLFLW to do is to add significant staff to something that's not making any money.
It's a good point.
And that's not going to happen. You know, they're not going to add significant staff to something that's not making significant money. And these programs are on some level, they're just to say they have them, and just to provide an outlet for these people who they hope will become the diehard, serious members down the road who will fish the events and pay for memberships and buy the sponsor products and so forth. But I think that's a throwing away money to do that. Let these people fish the BFLs and the Opens. If they're that good, if they're competitive on that level, let them get out there and show it. Because most of them can't compete at that level. Most of them can't compete.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So
what is wrong? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say they have to be protected by narrowing that field significantly, you know, and I'm against that on the college level. I was against that with the women's Bassmaster Tour of a decade ago. Mm-hmm. If they can compete, let them compete. There's no reason to segregate the sexes. There's no particular reason to segregate college students from you and me. It makes no sense. Now, if you want to segregate on the basis of youth, I'm okay with that. But we've had Bassmaster Classic qualifiers for college who are in their late 20s. This is not a traditional college age person.
Okay.
Only once or maybe twice has the college qualifier been 21 years of age or less. A couple times.
All right. You just made a statement that intrigues me, because I think I might be on the total opposite, because maybe this is just my bringing up as to achieving success at a level. And then when you do achieve that success, well, guess what? You move up to the next level. And then you know what? When you perform at that level, well, you go up to the next level. Why is there a need for, I don't know if this is the right word, cross-pollination of different levels of bass fishing? And what I mean by that is, and this discussion has been long drawn out by anglers themselves. Fans have argued about it, but I don't think I've ever asked you this, Ken. Why is it so bad that we cannot keep the same performance level or the same skill level and try to mix up these skill levels with one event? An example of that, a couple of examples would be putting kids or putting anglers in a situation like the Bassmaster Classic that, yeah, maybe they earned their way in through something else that wasn't really associated with the true determination of the Bassmaster Classic, be it the Elite Series. Another example would be, why are you going to take somebody who is at the top level, right, say Major League Fishing or the Bassmaster Elite Series, and let them fish in a BFL? Or let them fish in a weekend series or whatever it is. Why is there a need? And I know the response is, well, this is going to show where you stand at going up against the best in the world. Well, you know what I got to do first? First, I got to be the best at my level. Then if I am successful at that level and have put the financial resources and performed at the level that's necessary to be at the top of that level, I'm ready to move on to the next one. Why is it that we have this constant back and forth, Ken?
That's a lot to unwrap there, Mark Jeffries.
It is a lot.
Let me see if I can attack it from one way or try to answer from one way, and you tell me if I'm answering your question or not. I hate to always harp on money, but a lot of this does have to do with money. Our sport is not strong enough to support the kind of league and traditional advancement. Like baseball is a great example. Our sport is not strong enough to support that kind of program. And maybe golf or tennis would be a better analogy because those are individual sports. But those sports, and although tennis is waning through the years, but those sports are strong enough, have enough participants, have enough money where you're forced into the ladder. You're forced to take a step on the ladder, and you can only move up after you've shown objective performance over and over again. And that works where you have money, where you have people who are either got enough financial security to push themselves along through the process, or who find backers who can do it, sponsors. Fishing is not that strong. Yeah, you have some people with money, whether you're talking a Charlie Hartley or a Boyd Duckett or a Dave Smith or whoever it might be. And you have people with a ton of skill, some of those guys as well. But there's not the same opportunity for people who don't have money to advance up the ladder, okay? Because a bad year can knock off a guy who's super duper talented unless he can find the sponsorships and so forth. What I always tell young tournament anglers who ask me, how do I get rolling here, is I say, hey, fish the highest level you can financially afford. Because if you have skills, you will succeed even at that level. Maybe you're not as good as Kevin Van Dam, but on a given day, on a given body of water, under a given set of circumstances, you can beat Kevin Van Dam in this sport. It's not like basketball where on my best day, I'm not going to block a LeBron James shot. On my best day, I'm not going to posterize Michael Jordan. But in bass fishing, it's a very different game. Fish the highest level you can afford. Money is the limiting factor in our sport. Now, as far as mixing the different levels, which I think are meaningless. All the different levels tell me is how much that guy can either afford or how much that guy values the available prize money and thinks he's going to win it. Because when you see an elite guy, well, not so much an elite guy, but when you see the highest level angler fish a lower level tournament, he's doing that because he likes that body of water. He thinks he has a great chance to get the top prize there, not 10th place, but first place. Or he's trying to requalify for his highest level and needs the points. Those are the three reasons those guys fish there. Or maybe it's in his backyard, but then again, that goes back to he thinks he can win the top prize there. They're not doing it for any other reason than those. So that's when you see the mix. Now, Ray Scott, back in the day, Ray, the founder of bass and the single greatest force in the history of competitive bass fishing, a great, great man. Ray discouraged his anglers in the 70s and 80s when he was running bass. He discouraged his anglers from fishing lower level events. He did not want Ricky Green and Tom Mann and Roland Martin and Bill Dance and Rick Clunn to go out and fish a Friday night pot tournament on their local lake, because he knew that if they won, well, they're supposed to win. And if they lost, they look really bad. So he didn't want that. And to a degree, the leagues still don't want that, because they don't want their top level guys looking mortal. And I don't know if I've banged around the edges on your question, Mark. Am I even coming close to what you're looking for?
No, you are. But I think where I'm going is it's not an excuse. I just think that I personally do not believe that if somebody can't catch him on a BFL series, say over a 2-year span, if maybe he or she gets 1 or 2 checks, that they're going to be able to compete at a Bassmaster Elite Series, a Toyota Series, whatever that higher level is, until they have proved themselves over that period that, yeah, they got the game and they got the cash. But they're not out spending $50,000 to $70,000 or $40,000 to prove that they can catch them when they couldn't even catch them at a BFL level.
Let me give you, I love that you mentioned BFL because that's a 5-fish, bring your best 5 to the scales tournament. What if you're fabulous at that? Let's say Mark Jeffries is awesome. He's going to go out and he's going to bring 25 pounds to the scale. And Ken Duke is the king of the 2-pound fish. I'm going to weigh in 10 pounds, but I caught 100 2-pound fish. Now, and you caught 5 5-pound fish. You're going to win every derby out there. I'm going to suck, but I would be the greatest Bass Pro Tour angler of all time.
Ken, that's apples and oranges, man.
I get
what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I truly do.
But anyway, what I'm really saying is sometimes the format does not help. And that's the problem. Sometimes the format is different. Sometimes the schedule is different because we know that all we have to do is change a couple of tournaments on any given schedule and you've got a different AOY. You've got a different top 10 in the points. I don't think it's a given. I think in an ideal world where there was lots of money in our sport, then yeah, you would have to climb the ladder. But until our sport gets there ain't no ladder. There's just a mountain. And whether you choose to get to the top of that mountain by slogging and crawling and fighting your way every inch up it, or you take a helicopter, is partly up to you and partly up to your skills and finances.
Okay, so having said that, let me ask you whether or not...
And unfortunately, most people who want to get into the sport, they just see the mountaintop. They don't see the mountain.
Right. The situation of players going up and down, fishing the high-end players, fishing the lower events, if they had more things to fish at their level, do you think you would see a decline in guys trying to fish lower-level events? In other words, if the Elite Series was made up of 16 events a season, would there even be a need for these guys? Because the response that I always get, Ken, and I'm sure you receive the same response is, well, I got to make a living. I got to fish what's out there. I got to make some money. Well, if they had more events, does that solve that situation?
I don't think so, because remember, these guys are fishing the lower level events for 3 reasons. They think they can win. They need the points. And what was the other one I was referencing earlier? Well, those are the key ones right there. They think they can win. They need the points, and it fits their schedule. Okay. Yeah. So by adding more top level events, you're taking one of those things away, but you're not taking the 2 others away. Now it no longer fits their schedule, but they still think they can win that tournament. So they're going to try to get in, and they desperately need the points maybe to requalify. If the Elite or MLF season is now 16 events, you're not changing anything about how many guys desperately need to requalify, and they may have to go down to the lower level to do so.
Okay, let me ask you this now, and forget about the MLF situation because everybody knows that has been a dynamic change to the way that tournaments are conducted, both in format and the media style that they take. Forget about that. In a general perspective, though, bass fishing really hasn't changed in 50 years.
I agree.
Agreed?
Absolutely.
So, and once again, take the MLF element out because they have went off into the horizon doing their own thing. When is the thing that has been the same for 50 plus years eventually going to change from the top level down to the bottom level? Because I believe that there is a needed change. And the reason that the needed change is there is if you truly want to be a professional, this is how to get there. This is what you got to do. And once you get there, we are going to take every opportunity to do everything we can as an organization for you to be successful by having plenty of events to fish, giving you a marketing platform to promote your sponsors and the people that are backing you. And thirdly, creating a situation where you don't have to skimp and scrounge and do everything you can to take away from your time of doing the career that you have chosen. What's your response, Ken?
Well, I think that's what all the leagues say they're doing now.
But they only have 8 events.
True.
And that's why all the guys have to fish the other events. That's why John Cox is doing what he's doing, Ken.
There's a reason they only have 8 events. And there's a reason that that the sport has stagnated. The reason they only have 8 events is because a lot of guys can't afford more than 8 events. A lot of guys cannot afford a longer schedule. A longer schedule takes them away from other ways where they're earning money, perhaps. And I'm talking mostly about your guys who are not so well established. I'm certainly not talking about the Van Dams, the Reeses, the Ivers, those guys. But for a lot of the lower level guys, the guys who are not so well established, they got to go back home and make a living and support this career choice. And they're not willing to be away from home any longer than that because of family or other obligations. So that's one reason the thing is 8. Now, from 2006, 2007, 2008, the elite season was 11 events. And a lot of people may not remember that, but it was 11 events long because of exactly what you're talking about. Don Rux was leading bass back in those days, and he was trying to create a more professional operation where guys could have a more meaningful career. And that's when the wrap boats came in. That's when the got to wear slacks on stage came in. That's where 11 events came in. That's where majors came in, 3 or 4 no entry fee tournaments during the year and so forth. And that was a big leap forward. And had the economy not tanked in 2008, we might be further along. We might have shown some real movement in the sport, but the economy tanked. And they had to cut from 11 events to 8 events just to find something that these guys could handle budget-wise. And the sport took a step back, or at least stopped moving forward in any significant way at that point. I hate to say it because I know people get tired of me saying it, but it comes back to money. If our sport can reach more people, then a lot of these issues that you're talking about, a lot of these problems you're pointing out absolutely correctly, would go away, or at least they would morph into some new problem. But our sport is not strong. Our sport is not bigger than it's ever been. Stop thinking that. Stop telling yourself that. That's a lie. It's not bigger than it's ever been.
It's not a lie. It's just a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact that our sport has not grown.
I mean, the numbers prove that. The numbers have been there.
It's not grown, and I'm not exactly. If I knew how to make it grow, I've been around long enough. I would have been able to do something, but I'm not sure how to make it grow. You got to get more non-endemics involved. You got to grow the audience. Here's the big, and one of the big problems is in terms of our audience, whether it be television, whatever, we don't reach 1 million people. The magazines don't reach 1 million people. The television shows don't reach 1 million people. And therefore companies like Coca-Cola and the pharmaceutical companies and the big dollar people, they don't play. And until we can get that number up to that level, at least, the sport's kind of stuck.
Man, we went across a lot of perspectives there, Ken. We were kind of all over the place. No. It's all good stuff. Now, let me ask you this. Can you reflect and remember when the first time that the entry fee for a bass tournament was $4,000, I think is what it used to be. When that first Elite Series, was it $4,000?
The first Elite Series, it was $55,000 for 11 tournaments. So now it's $5,000 an event, but that's not technically the way it worked.
Right.
You were paying $55,000 to fish the season. But if you do the math, it's $5,000 event, but that's not the way you were charged.
No, I get it. Okay, so let's just
front and then.
No, I get it. All right, let's say $5,000. Do you remember what the response was from the anglers that they were going to have to pony up that $55,000 that very first year to go fish? Do you remember some of the comments from?
I remember
some of
that
the people?
very well. Yeah, I remember very well. Because back then I was senior editor at Bass, senior editor of publications at Bass, and we were very concerned that we were not going to have anything like a good sized field for the inaugural Elite Series. We were very concerned that we might not have 50 or 60 anglers out there. Now we wound up with 106, which I thought was wildly successful. I think everybody at Bass agreed that was enormously successful. And I think Greg Hackney might have been the first guy to pony up. And when I say pony up, I think the initial payment was $10,000, but you were also signing a contract saying you were good for the whole 55. And some guys, and maybe Hackney was one of them, paid the 55 right up front. He might've gotten a discount for paying right up front. Anyway, yeah, it was a worrisome time because we knew that anybody who didn't sign up for the Elite Series was going to go to FLW and take their resume and their fan base perhaps with them that we had helped them build at Bass. Yeah, guys were saying, Roland Martin, Roland, I believe this is a deadly correct thing. I believe Roland said it was a recipe for bankruptcy and divorce.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, there were a lot of guys who were very nervous about it because it was a big ask. On the return side, though, Bass was promising better coverage, more exposure, greater professionalism, more opportunity. And I think at least for a while delivered on all that and still to a great degree delivers on that. But yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was touch and go. And there was a period where Bass was calling almost anybody to see if they wanted to participate. And you didn't have to have the greatest resume to get a call and be invited to join the Elite Series back then. If you could tie a Palomar knot.
Oh, it was not. Come on, Ken.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that bad. But there were guys who would never have been invited to join that highest level at the time of the sport had Bass not been looking very, very actively for participants.
Huh.
You had to do more than tie a Palomar knot.
Do you remember, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, do you remember who won Rookie of the Year that first season?
Dave Olak.
No longer in fishing.
Right.
The next year, I remember it was a guy that ran a Skeeter, and I can't remember his name.
Whew. If you give me a second, I can find him, but
I'm sure you can.
Offhand, I'm not sure who it was.
Not Mark Kyle. You remember Mark Kyle?
Oh yeah, Mark Kyle. But yeah, Mark Kyle started in the late 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
He'd been around a long time.
He was a Texas guy.
Anyway,
yeah, I wish I could remember his name because I distinctly remember him walking up to me after he won Rookie of the Year, and he said,
right.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it's well, especially Rookie of the Year. I mean, Rookie of the Year formally began in 2004.
Yeah.
And let me apologize. I was just checking here. 2005, Dave Wolak was Rookie of the Year. 2006, Rookie of the Year was Steve Kennedy.
Okay. Do you have that list? Keep going.
I do. Okay. 2007, Derek Remitz.
Okay.
2008, Bobby Lane. 2009, Billy McCagran. 2010, Bradley Roy.
That's not who I'm thinking of,
2011, Ott Defo. 2012, Brandon Card. 2013, Hank Cherry. 2014, Jacob Porosnik. 2015, Brent Ayler. 2016, Drew Benton. 2017, Dustin Cannell. 2018, Jake Whitaker. 2019, Drew Cook. 2020, Austin Felix. 2021, was that KJ Queen?
I think so.
Well, anyway, that show that list is a joke because Bass changed its definition of rookie periodically.
Yeah, it went all over the place. Go back to the
All over the
beginning.
place.
Go back before Remitz. Can you go backwards from Remitz?
Well,
what?
Yeah, Remitz was 2007. The first official Rookie of the Year when the award got started was Greg Hackney in 2004.
What year was that?
2004, and as I recall, Hackney finished second in the Bass AOY rankings to Gerald Swindle, and he also finished second in FLW rankings that year. You know, one of the great years anybody's ever posted.
What year was it that Tim Horton won Rookie of the Year and Angler of the Year? The same year.
2000.
Do you have that list? Does your Rookie of the Year list go back to 2000?
You know, at some point I put together a retro Rookies of the Year, and Horton would have been Rookie of the Year in 2000 on a retro basis. I just reconfigured it using whatever point system was in existence at that time, and went by whoever had not participated at the highest level to a significant degree in years prior to that. So
I am thoroughly stuck now on who that angler was, because I could have swore he was Rookie of the Year. He was a Skeeter guy. He was from Texas.
And what year do you think it was?
Man, I thought it was the year. It might have been the year before Remitz. Who was that?
Well, the year before Remitz, Steve Kennedy. I'm sorry. Well, Remitz was Rookie of the Year in 2007. In 2006, Steve Kennedy was Rookie of the Year. And here are the rookies as they ranked that year. You stop me if I hit your name, and I'm not going to hit your name quickly. Steve Kennedy was second in AOY. Jared Lintner was 18th. Bill Lowen was 26th. Bradley Hallman was 50th. Bill Smith was 51st. So once you drop down past 50, you're really talking about guys who probably did not have significant success.
Okay,
so
I know where to look.
2006. What's
that?
Hang
on. I know where to look. I'm going to look it up here real quick. Because I can look at the one that Remitz won at Amistad. I think he will be in that field. Anyway, that's just bugging me. But back to that discussion. I think it was a situation where we are constantly seeing that once you reach a point and establish that criteria, it's very hard to change that criteria. In other words, once you've established that the entry fee is going to be $5,000 or higher, it would be almost impossible to go back and say, well, here, look, guys, this is what we're going to do. From this point forward, the entry fee is $1,500, but we're going to have 20 tournaments a year. You just can't do that, can you, Ken?
No, you really can't, because you can't make the payoff significant enough for a guy to buy gas.
Well, you could. You could. You just wouldn't have that $100,000, golden nugget sitting at the top. And how difficult when you and I are 75 years old, hopefully we're still around and we're sitting around a table just talking about whatever. Is the entry fees to get into the top level still going to be between $5,000 and $10,000 a tournament? What do you think?
And that's not even that's a small part of the problem, I think, Mark. Here's what I think they'll be, unfortunately. Here's an analogy. I'm sure the folks who are regular viewers of Bass Talk Live put up with me on this one more time. In 1967, in June, when Ray Scott held the first modern bass tournament, which was the All-American on Beaver Lake in Arkansas, he charged guys a $100 entry fee. Okay? First place was worth $2,000 and some nice prizes, but let's just talk cash. $100 entry fee, $2,000 for first place, 20-1. If you enter an elite tournament now, you're paying $5,000 entry fee. Actually, you're paying a little bit more. It's actually closer to $5,500. Payoff is $100,000. That's worse than 20-1. So that's the number that troubles me and tells me our sport has not advanced significantly. So when we're 75, Mark, the entry fee will be $10,000 and first place will be $200,000. And It won't matter because it's the same ratio. Wow. Unless you can fix the ratio, you haven't really attacked the problem in a meaningful way.
Yeah, it's
it's easy for us to have $1 million payoff if we want one. We just got to charge these guys $50,000 entry fees.
Ken. I would like to have Truth Serum. I really would, man. Truth Serum would be fascinating asset to be able to give some of the anglers on tour some Truth Serum and go, look, would you rather have 20 tournaments a year with first place paying $50,000 at a $1,500 entry fee, or would you rather have 8 tournaments a year, $100,000 top prize, and 50th place is $5,000? What do you think they would say, Ken?
I think that the guys who have seen some real success and the guys who have some real money behind them, the guys who've made their millions through other businesses and fish these tours because they simply love to go fishing, I think those guys would want to go with the higher entry fees and the correspondingly higher payouts and fewer tournaments.
Yeah, I can see that. But
here's the terrible thing. Yeah. The other guys, the guys who have not had the success, the guys who don't have the big bankroll behind them, they don't want correspondingly more tournaments and lower payouts because that hits their bottom line too hard. See, what's going to happen then is they're going to go out and fish, instead of 8 tournaments, they're going to go out and fish 15 tournaments, and they're not going to do any better. They're not going to do any better, but they're going to spend a lot more money on the trail. So
yeah,
that scenario really doesn't work for much of anybody.
It is a fascinating discussion, dude. And I think when we're 75, 15 years from now, and we're still around and we're still talking, I am going to be enormously perplexed to see, number one, how MLF continues and to see how that thing evolves over the next 15 years. But at the same time, to see if anything changes in the way that, for the most part, the 5 fish thing is pretty much the same for the last 40 plus years. Because back in the early years, they brought in, 20, 30 fish. I mean, they strung them up. I remember seeing pictures, in the earliest
days. In the earliest days, bass had a 15 fish limit.
Yeah.
And you talk about when we were 75 and what's up with MLF at that point and so forth. And I get sometimes on BTL, I get accused of being anti-BASS or anti-MLF or anti-this or anti-that. And I just want to say right now, I'm going to take this opportunity to say I'm a member of both organizations and have been a member of FLW since they started in the 90s. Before that, I was a member of Operation Bass. I've been a member of BASS since I was 14 years old. I love both those organizations. I think they both do a lot right. The problem, I think, is that until one of them or both of them figures out how to grow the sport, things are not going to get significantly better for the sport as a whole. And I'm not sure that either of them has figured that out yet. If they have, I haven't seen the big eye-popping evidence yet. I love both those organizations for what they are. I think they both do a lot right. But I want to see somebody step up and grow the sport. And I haven't seen that in a significant way yet.
Man, we've went 90 minutes and we're just going to keep this going, and I'm probably going to be late to class. But I got to ask you this. What is more important to the tournament organizations? It doesn't matter. NPFL, Major League Fishing, BASS. Is it to get more people tournament fishing, or is it to get more people fishing? Different kind of question. Do you want to grow the tournament world, or do you want to grow the bobber world?
You got to grow. Well, first of all, and I'm not sure this is necessarily correct, but it's the way that the fishing industry has looked at this situation for a long time. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. Bluegill, panfish, small fish like that you catch on a cane pole or some little inexpensive light action outfit. They're the gateway drug. You show me a picture of bluegill, I show you the gateway drug. Because if you can catch a few bluegill, maybe you get interested in the sport and you work your way up to more sophisticated tackle, more sophisticated angling, and you land on bass fishing or trout fishing or inshore, offshore, saltwater fishing. You grow the sport, you lift all the boats. You really do. You throw new money into it, you gain a wider audience, you get Coca-Cola and the pharmaceutical companies advertising with you. Any organization that is trying to grow tournament fishing as its primary goal is dumb as a box of rocks.
That's not what I'm asking, though, Ken. I'm not. Because there are so many other aspects in the profitability of these organizations, and I think people forget they got to make money. And some people don't like that. They don't like that companies make money. But they have to be profitable, and they have to make good decisions that keep that revenue not dramatically, but continuously increasing over time. Hence, I don't think anybody's ever really asked that question. Do the tournament organizations really need to grow the tournament aspect, or is there a bigger concern with growing what I call the bobber platform? Because think about this. It's supply and demand, Ken. It truly is. Because one of these days, people are finally going to say, you know what? $1,500 to fish a regional tournament is just too much money. I'm not going to do it anymore. $5,500, in entry fees per tournament is just too much. I'm not going to do it anymore. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Of course, you're not wrong. I've got a little different take on your question now. I mean, a different understanding of your question. I'll say this. The tournament organizations, it may look like their tournaments and their platforms are trying to grow tournament fishing, but I don't think that's what they're really trying to do. I think they're really trying to do something that's pretty smart, and that is they're trying to grow audience. I think that tournaments and the public, the publicizing tournaments is trying to grow audience, not tournaments and not the sport, just audience.
Okay.
And I think that's what MLF was all about. Let's make it a more dynamic format. Let's make it more like the big time sports. Let's make it faster paced. And I think it does all that. And I think it was done simply in an effort to grow audience. not to grow tournaments, because that's a tough tournament format to mimic, and not to grow the sport. Not saying they don't want to grow the sport, just saying that is not a way to do it. Tournaments are an effort to grow audience. Now, do the organizations want to grow tournaments? I think the organizations want to grow audience.
Okay.
And I think that's very different from growing tournaments or growing the sport. That's very different.
Okay.
And that's what
good. Yeah. No,
that's what all sports on some level are trying to do. I watched some of the Bucks Patriots game last night, and there was a lot of hoopla about that. Tom Brady's return to New England and everything. And they're just trying to grow audience. They're not trying to they're not trying to grow the number of people who play football. They don't care. Why should they care? And they're not trying to grow the number of games. That's certainly not their goal. Their only goal is to grow audience, because when you grow audience, you make more money.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be really cool. Both of us are going to be around when we're 75, and we're going to be sitting around a table drinking coffee or whatever, and we're going to reflect back and we're going to go, I remember when we talked about that, and look where we're at today. I am really, really intrigued to see if things go a different direction.
Are you going to put this episode in a time capsule?
I think I should, because I just, man, with so many things, including fishing, there just comes a point where change needs to happen. And what that change is, I have no idea. I am not the shell answer man here. But there are definitely things that happen, and there's definitely things that are taking place in the world today when it comes to so many things, that the reflection on really what the ultimate goal is, you kind of got to sit back and go, okay, what is that goal? What is that goal? And from a business standpoint, from a family standpoint, from a personal standpoint, what is your goal? And I think sometimes the track gets lost on ultimately what that goal is at all levels. And I think the older we get, and it's not being a grouchy old man, it's just I think over a period of time that those goals and objectives that companies and people have, both in their professional and their business life and their personal life, they kind of lose track, and it's all about the now. And they don't think about, well, okay, we're here and we've done a really good job at getting here. What's next? That I think right there is one of the most underutilized questions in this industry, Ken, is what's next? It's not about the now. It's about what is next in the future of this game. And I'll be honest with you, man, I'm tired of hearing about growing the sport. I really am. I think it's saturated. That term is oversaturated. It's overused. You can't continually say that over and over and over and over, and we stay at the horizon, is what I call it.
It's the biggest problem we face, though, Mark. And that's, that interesting. And I know we're running out of time here, but
yeah.
I leave in a few hours for the American Sport Fishing Association Summit in Naples, Florida. It's an event I attend every year. It's where the ASA committees meet and board of directors meets. And that's the primary goal of that organization. ASA owns ICAST. ASA is our industry's most effective lobbying organization when it comes to things like fishing regulations, a lot about water quality, a lot about invasive species, all these things that we think about when we think about threats to fishing. That's what ASA is focused on. I leave for that in a few hours. I want Mark Jeffries at that thing next year.
I'm working on it, man. We'll try and get there. I definitely want to try and take part in that. And with basketball season kicking off on October 1, it's kind of hard.
I warn you.
Yeah.
If you go, you will hear the phrase "growing the sport."
Well, I know that. I mean, I don't get upset about it. It's just I would rather say, "What's next?" What's next? I like that much better than grow the sport.
Call it what you like.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey,
Tomato,
I do want to say
tomato.
this. The comments and
Uh-oh.
if I can say it, geez. The comments and feedback from the fans have been outstanding today, both positive and negative. And I read them all, and a lot of people out there have some very, very valid points about the topic and the discussion that Ken and I had today.
People are saying negative things about me, Mark? Really? They're attacking me? Unbelievable.
No, it is what it is. All right.
Oh, well,
but
I can take
it. Everybody has an opinion about this subject. It is a great subject to talk about. It's not about, this organization or this organization or this organization. Obviously, the direction that these organizations are going, I think, is pretty well defined. You agree with that, Ken?
In what sense?
In the way that they are going, not in this big business plan, but I think you definitely can define what their objective is. I think that defined objective from a fishing standpoint, not from a business standpoint, but from a fishing standpoint, that objective has been well established.
Okay, I'm with you.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
We know all the other stuff in that whole business pie. We
yeah,
we may or may not know.
But we've also seen even the fishing perspective change some.
Yeah, and there's been modifications.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to watch the modifications.
Yeah.
So what does it mean,
And that's a great question. What does it mean? And what does it mean for the future? And I think there are people in places right now in all organizations that are definitely looking at aspects of tomorrow and not just today. But I think the visual perception of what's taking place is all about the now. It's what we're doing now. I firmly believe that. And if I'm wrong, I will come on this show and I will say that I'm wrong. But having been around this for so many years and seeing the evolution of what's taken place, I think I'm dead on that. And I am just really intrigued, and I know a lot of people in this industry. I've seen the evolution of all these organizations, but I truly believe, Ken, there is going to come a point in time where people finally say, that's it, I'm done.
I think people are already saying that. I think some people have already said that. Interesting we talk about this because, and I know you've had him on pretty recently, but Bruce Aiken's last day as CEO of Bass was Tuesday last week. And I wonder if Bruce is now in a position maybe to open up a little more, to answer questions a little more transparently than he was when he was still in office at Bass. Chase Anderson, who is part of the ownership family with Anderson Media, is now running things on a day-to-day basis, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And he's been, an impossible guy to get involved in some media, it seems. But Bruce, I know, has been on the show many times, and might be interesting to reach out to him in retirement.
Yeah, that's him calling right now.
It is. It's unbelievable. I've got so many alarms.
What is that? REM?
REM. What's the frequency? Kenneth. REM is my favorite band. What can I tell you?
Oh, I thought being from Georgia that you might be a B-52s fan.
I like the B-52s, but REM was coming along just as I was there,
I got you.
And so I got to see REM a lot at little clubs and bars in Athens.
Yeah.
And before they were recording and when I was just a kid.
Yeah, that's where the B-52s were from, too.
Absolutely. But by then, the B-52s had all had a lot of success and had scurried off to New York and places more glamorous than Athens, Georgia.
Yeah. All right, man. My final thought. Listen, folks, it's not gloom and doom. All right. That's the beauty of this platform. All right. We express our concerns. We express our opinions. Is it gloom and doom? No, it is not. I think all organizations are in good hands, and we'll see, man. That's definitely going to be a T-shirt in the future. What's next? I think that's something that hopefully every leader of all the organizations out there and the companies that really have an impact on this game, from the guy that's going out using his bobber all the way up to the guy that's making a cast to try and win $100,000. So that's my final thought, Ken.
Amen.
Any final thought?
No, it is not all gloom and doom. If there are any positives to come out of COVID, one is that a lot more people are fishing last year and this year than any time since the 1980s. That's the last time our numbers were anything approaching this high. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. If we can keep them fishing, the sport's in good shape for a while. If we can't, we got more challenges.
All right, man. Good stuff. Thanks for pitch hitting for Matt. Tomorrow, big show tomorrow. Can't wait to have Kara Davison on, and we will get her take on the White River Marine future and present and past and all the great answers that you'll have tomorrow. Ken, you shaking
I'm
your
excited,
head?
man. I'm excited about every show you do, and I want to do that show I was telling you about earlier. I want to interview Mark Jeffries.
Yeah, we'll do that. The next time, here in a few weeks, when Matt's gone, he'll be fishing Grand Lake. You can come on. You can ask me anything, man.
I like it.
What's my favorite thing to cook in the kitchen?
Got to be hot dogs, right?
Hot dogs and eggs. That's about all I can cook. All right, Ken. Thanks for sitting in. And thanks to the fans. Greatly appreciate the feedback from everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. That's it. We're out of here.